Yo, what's up viewers, it's your boy Blaze Hollow coming back at you with another What If, and this time I'll be bringing you What If Deku had All for One Part 2 redo. I know that it's been a while, and now that it's a new year, I've been deciding to light a fire under myself to do better to try to get a few stories finished. So with all that said, let's wrap up this intro and get right into it. Start it up.
I don't think you can become a hero.
The great meeting of the top 10 who was witnessed by the association and childcare was about to be underway. All Might was about to explain the entire incident when all of a sudden he could feel a chill in the room. The doors themselves were starting to get covered in a sheen of ice as it was kicked open. Somebody better have a fucking good reason why an entire apartment complex came tumbling down and the nearby buildings have holes in them. Endeavor was shaking his head as he was looking out the door, seeing his eldest son Toya, who seemed to be enraged about everything, causing the entire room to get even more cold as Endeavor started to heat up himself and walk over to his son to try and calm him down. That's enough. You're not the only one who wants to cause a scene, but if you keep this up, somebody is going to get hurt if you allow your ice to continue to travel the way it is. Toya looked at his father, seeing that he was being stern as he looked around the room, showing that there were small ice particles starting to form. So he took a few deep breaths and put his hand onto the bridge of his nose. Can you at least explain to me what happened? Best Jeanist coughed a little bit, trying to get everybody's attention on him. It's good to see that you're willing to join us, number 10. Your immaturity is definitely showing though. So maybe if you decide to take your seat and stop throwing a tantrum, you could actually get some answers like the rest of us. Toya didn't appreciate being talked down to like he was a young child. Listen here, Fiber Man, I will freeze you down to your core if you continue to talk to me like that. It's almost like I'm the only one who's upset about this situation. A man around his age with black hair wearing a black bodysuit with a red cape and red gloves put his hand on Toya's shoulder. That's enough, man. We're all upset in our own way. No need to make us all look bad. Toya shrugged his shoulders as he took one final breath. Fine, Tenko, but you have to agree with me that this is completely messed up. Tenko brings his friend over to the table as they sit down right next to each other. Trust me, I'm as upset as you are, but I'm sure we're going to get to the bottom of this. He then looked around the table. Isn't that right, or do you all have a different opinion on the matter? Rust folded his arms as he leaned back into his chair. What exactly is that supposed to mean? Don't forget, younglings, that we've been doing this a lot longer than the both of you. You should just show your respects at this table and be glad that you have your seat. Headshot sat straight up as he put his left hand on his chin, trying to think about the situation. They always say that age comes with wisdom, so you should take the advice from your elders. He then turns in his seat towards All Might. Be that as it may, you still need to explain your actions. As the number one hero, you're supposed to be the living example of what not to do and what to do. All Might looked around the room before he spoke as he saw that all the heroes finally took their seats at the table. I'm sorry if things didn't go the way you were hoping, and I'm fully willing to pay for the damages to the entire city, but it was completely necessary for what we had to deal with today so we could take down the villain in question. Endeavor slammed his fist right onto the table. That is complete nonsense and you know it. If you are going to go in there guns a-blazing, then why did you need me there? I barely did anything and you handled the entire situation. I'm feeling like you had me there to take the fall for you. Night-Eye glared hearing these accusations from Endeavor. I would prefer you didn't speak to All Might that way. You were supposed to be a part of the assault team. But since you hesitated he had to fight all alone, I would actually like to know where you were the entire time. Endeavor didn't even hesitate as he pulled out a suitcase that he brought with him from underneath the table as he opened it to reveal a few the folders that were inside. I was busy saving lives and making sure that nobody got caught in the crossfire of that maniac. The representation of the Hero Safety Committee saw this as an opportunity to finally bring up the true subject to this table. I truly do not mean to interrupt, but I do find it important to bring up that Endeavor was actually helping the son of All For One get to safety, along with a little boy from the same complex. According to the records, they were the only survivors of this incident. Anko was surprised knowing that his old teacher actually had a son. That's a good thing though. He saved 2 young kids' lives. Why are you bringing that up like it's a bad thing? A man sat there for a second, seeing if anybody else was going to interrupt or pose any other question. When nobody else did, he finally spoke up again. It's mainly to decide what we should do with him. We were able to get some medical records, and apparently his father transferred some of his abilities to him, especially the ability to take and give quirk. That's when the woman from protective custody finally spoke up. That is something that I would like to know as well, since the boy actually does have a legal guardian known as his godparents. Since both parents were killed in this incident, I've been waiting to actually bring her in. I'm just waiting for the go-ahead so she could be part of this meeting. That's when everybody could hear rustling in the hallway as the sound of men trying to stop somebody as they heard the rageful screaming of a woman. As one of the men was actually thrown across the doorway that was still open as an ashy-haired blonde woman stepped in, revealing herself to be Mitsuki Bakugo. Somebody here better explain why I need to fight for the right for my best friend's child. I was named his godmother, and you act like Izuku committed a crime when he's actually a victim, you failing heroes. Security finally caught up with her as they grabbed a hold of Minsky, trying to force her out of the room, only for Endeavor to see this as a perfect opportunity. Security, please release that woman right now since she is involved with the child in question. Minsky felt so relieved that she was getting help as the security finally let her go. Thank you so much, Endeavor. I was originally heading over to the hospital when I got a phone call telling me that if I didn't come here to speak upon my behalf, I might not get custody of Izuku. Yuriko kicked her feet up onto the table as she leaned back on her chair as she was munching on a carrot. I like this woman's attitude. She's got a stronger bite than any bark I've ever seen. Fox chuckled as he shook his head. Either way, we need to actually get a group consensus on this entire situation. If he is truly the son of the world's greatest villain, then the boy needs to be put in intensive care or put into somebody's hands that can make sure that he's put on the straight and narrow. All Might put a serious face on, knowing that this was going to be one of the greatest statements put into this meeting. Let's not forget that there's a third option for the boy. We could put him to death before he could become a problem. Everyone was in complete shock hearing the number one hero's suggestion as it rang through the entire room. As people were trying to figure out what to say to that, Minsky was getting lightheaded as she was brought to a seat at the edge of the table. Rangerino realized that nobody knew what to say, so he went for the wild card suggestion. We all need to discuss what kind of options we have for the boy. Then we need to put it down to a vote. Majority will rule. Does everybody agree to this? Ryoku felt uneasy for what she was about to ask. So who wants to propose some ideas? Endeavor stood up, trying to keep the most natural face he could. I know this might make a lot of you feel uneasy, but I actually spoke with All For One before his death, and he asked me to watch over his son. I am already a father of 4, and my family is very open. If you would allow me, I would like to take Izuku into my custody, but that would also have to go through Miss Bakugo's approval. Minsky looked up in concern. Are you saying that he wouldn't be safe in my custody? I am a mother myself, and his mother entrusted me with him in case the worst ever happened. Endeavor rubbed the back of his neck. It's not that I don't think that you're capable, miss. It's more about other villains trying to find him if this information ever gets loose, or even people trying to seek revenge. Him being in my custody means that he has at least 2 pro-heroes able to protect him at all time. Minsky hung her head down low, worried about her own family, but was also worried about trying to keep the promise that she made to her best friend. All think about it, but I want to hear the other options before I give my opinion. Endeavor nodded his head as he went back to looking at the other heroes in the room. I will do everything in my ability to make sure that the boy does the right thing by society, so I hope when it comes time to vote that you'll at least agree with me. The man from the association saw that Endeavor was sitting down, waiting for everybody else to propose something, so he took the initiative when he saw nobody else did. The safety committee is willing to take the boy and truly train him on how to use his abilities. Plus, we'll be keeping him in a controlled environment where if anything bad were to happen, he could easily be calmed down or neutralized if that needed to happen. The best representation of our department's training capabilities is no other than the number 3 seat Hawks himself. Enko scoffed loud enough for everybody to hear him. So you can train him to become one of your killers, so that way when somebody steps out of line you can pull your trigger finger for him. Don't think that some of us don't understand what you do behind the scenes. The man smirked, looking at the number 9 seat. I assure you that I don't know what you're talking about. I truly hate that the association has these false rumors placed upon it, but don't forget that we make the laws. We do everything that's best for society. So who's best to teach the boy about the laws than the ones that make them? Oya was starting to laugh his ass off at the association's statement. Oh my god, who wrote your script? I've never seen such a bad PR script in my life. Do any of us need to bring up Lady Nagant and how she became insane because of your teaching and undercover deals? I assure you that majority of us will not let you leave here with him, so do us all a favor and stop spouting bullshit. Endeavor put a hand in front of his son, motioning for him to stop. That's enough. Everybody here is allowed to voice their opinion. We may not agree with one another, but we still have the right, so let's not make this any worse than it already is. The man took this opportunity to straighten his tie as he smiled at Endeavor. I appreciate you allowing me to speak, and yes, I do know of the rumors on the street about how we do crimes in the shadows, but I do want everybody to know that those rumors are false, and that we will definitely treat the boy properly, making sure that he does everything in his power and ours to help better everyone in our nation who feels safe and well taken care of, so I hope that your vote will go with us. All Might noticed that the representative was finally taking his seat, so he stood up. Now, what I'm about to propose to all of you might sound very shocking, but I truly do believe that we should put the boy to death before he could become a serious threat. Both Toya and Tanko jumped to their feet, getting ready to attack, only for a wall of flames to be put in front of them. As Endeavor actually got onto his feet, a lot more calm, but staring All Might dead in the eyes. You cannot be seriously believing that anybody in this room will support killing a child who doesn't know anything about this. Minsky also stood up in outrage. I swear I will literally jump up onto this table, kick you right in your teeth if you even suggest harming a hair on his head. All Might did not waver even for a second. I'm only suggesting this because of his father's serious threat level. If the boy has truly inherited his power, he could become the same level, if not even more of a threat than his father. It's best to nip it in the bud before it has a chance to sprout. Hulk shot out his feathers as they levitated in front of everybody that was standing. Alright, before we turn this room into a war zone, why don't we take some time alone or with our personal groups away from this room, then come back in 10 to maybe 20 minutes, and then we can give our vote and our reasoning on why we did. How does that sound to everybody? Enko was extremely nervous about this entire situation, so he needed to do something fast. Fine, I agree to this. Time to process everything should be good for everyone. Oya was shocked as he watched one of his best friends walk out of the room, but upon seeing Tanko turn the corner, he could have sworn he saw him pull out his phone like he was gonna call someone. Shaking his head, he regained focus on the room. I guess it truly doesn't matter what I say right now, so I hope all of you think long and hard. A child's life is in your hands. May God have mercy on all our souls. Everybody separated from the room as certain people were paired up to talk with friends or allies of their line of thinking, only leaving 2 people in the room, which were were Endeavor and Minsky, who were looking at each other with concern. Minsky was the first to speak up. Do you really think they might vote to kill a boy who's done nothing wrong? Endeavor wished that this was one of those situations where he could lie to her to make her feel better, but if he did that, he would just be giving her false hope. It's definitely possible, but I'm going to do everything within my power to prevent that. And I can already see a few people who agree with me. I just need to make sure that my side of the argument gets more votes. After that, we can decide on custody. Minsky just hung her head, realizing that this is going to go a lot deeper than she thought. This just isn't right. My best friend did nothing wrong, yet she's dead, and now her son is being treated like a criminal for simply just meeting his father. I have a feeling even if we do win, I'm not going to be able to keep him by my side because I just have no protection for him. I truly feel like there's just nothing I can do. Endeavor couldn't argue with her logic. You can still help him even if you aren't listed as a guardian. I will not stop you from being in the boy's life. It's only fair, but I hope that you can trust me along with my family to look over him and give him a safe home. Minsky just thought it over so many times in her mind as she just nodded her head. I want to be able to visit him whenever I feel like it. That's all I ask. If you can agree to that, then I will support you taking over as his guardian. Endeavor smiled as he got up from his chair and placed a hand on Minsky's shoulder. I have no problems with you coming around every once in a while. I'm sure that the boy would appreciate it. Try not to stress out too much. I plan to do everything I can to make sure the child's blood will not be spilled today. He cut away to the outside of the Hero Association building to one of the nearby alleyways where we find Tanko on the phone whispering, "Listen, I need all of you near the hospital. I will text you the situation. If I text you the word red, you need to charge in. If I text you the word green, you can leave. But until that moment, I need you to stay close to him." Mirko poked her head into the alleyway as she had a smirk on her face with both of her ears swinging back and forth into each other. She then walked over, placing a hand on Tanko's shoulder. "Who are you on the phone with?" Tanko jumped out of fear as he then hung up and turned around, scratching the back of his head nervously. "Rumi, what are you doing out here?" Mirko had a serious look on her face as she put both of her hands on her hips. "I was looking for you, but now I'm starting to get concerned about what you're up to, because if you're gonna do something stupid, I want in." Inko blinked his eyes a few times, misunderstanding, but then remembering how much of a troublemaker Rumi really is. "I am only preparing just in case. I'm not going to let that child be killed if there is something I can do about it." Mirko looked up towards the sky with a puzzled thought. "Come to think of it, you've been very protective of children ever since you adopted that young girl. How is she doing?" Inko smiled as he looked at the lock screen on his phone, seeing his adopted daughter. "She's doing good. She's waiting for you to come visit again." Mirko had a prideful smile on her face. "Well, maybe when I'm done here, we can both go see her." Inko wanted to say something to her, but he just didn't know what it was as he kept on trying to find the proper words to come out. "Thank you. I'm sure she'll love to see you again." Mirko hugged Tanko as she whispered into his ear, "I'm sure she's not the only person that will be happy to see me come around again." Inside of the association building, some of the pros were hanging out in the cafeteria, munching on some snacks while enjoying a cup of coffee. All Might was enjoying his time with his group Crust, Night Eye, Gran Torino, and Edshot. "I'm glad that all of you can understand my point of view. It's a bit harsh, but the best for the future generation." Rust was nodding his head as he was munching on some beef jerky. "We can't have another person like his father causing mayhem. Besides, for all we know, his dad gave him Stars and Stripes quirk, and who knows what he could do if he finally figures out how to use it." Headshot looked a little disappointed in himself, trying to firm up his resolve. "Even though every fiber in my being is telling me not to do this, I've seen the facts about his father, and knowing that he was a part of a great incident, he probably will vow for revenge. It's like you said, it is best to nip evil in the bud before it has a chance to fully bloom. Gran Torino was thinking about how things were shifting around in this debate between heroes, while he was tapping his cane on the floor. I don't think we have enough support. There's way too many wild cards. Nide was typing away at his computer, trying to find what else they could bring up, but not being able to find anything else, along with trying to get rid of any slander post about All Might. If only I would have gotten a chance to see the boy before we were rushed over here. I could have told us the outcome, but unfortunately I did not. And when I looked through everybody else's futures here, it's very unclear how it ends up. He cut away to the balcony where both Ryoku and Best Jeanist were overlooking the city as they were both thinking. Ryoko let out a sigh, not knowing what to do. So, what are your thoughts on this? Best Jeanist combed his hair as he looked at her. It's hard to say. Both sides have a point. He could become a future threat, but he's also just a child, so he could be taught on how to do the right thing. Ryoku wished that she wasn't in this situation, almost wanting to run away from it, but she knew that if she does, she'd be foregoing her job as a hero. It's not right to put the sins of a father onto their child. Sure, all of our parents have done something wrong, maybe not to the same extent, but would it be right for people to judge us on the problems that our parents would cause? Best Jeanist put both of his hands in his pocket as he had the most serious look on his face. You're right, it's not right for us to judge him on his father's actions, but maybe judging him on what he could become because of the latest incident, it's something I had to think about myself, and we're running out of time. We cut to the top of the association building where the representation of the association was yelling and complaining at Hawk. What are you doing? You're not helping the situation. You were supposed to be on our side to get the boy into our custody. If this starts going, even more and more people are going to be voting for his death. We might have to do something drastic and kidnap the boy and fake his death. I want to try to keep this as clean as possible and keep him in the public. Hawks looked annoyed as he was just texting away at his phone. You're not seeing the bigger picture, are you? The representative had his eyes twitching as he took off his sunglasses, almost like he was unhinged. Then please inform me what I'm missing so I can make sure to report it to our boss. Hawks put his phone away as he looked the man dead in the eyes. If he goes with Endeavor and we try to do our own form of support from the sideline, we can maybe convince him naturally that we're not bad people. And then maybe he'll come to us willingly, along with giving us some good public representation. Plus, we give him donations towards helping him better himself as a person or as a hero. We can put it in the papers as a charity case. It's all about how you play the media. Think about it. Representative was about to scream that that's crazy, but then he thought about it, along with putting his hand on his chin, which caused him to smirk. You know, you're a crazy bastard, but you're also a very creative one too. I think this could work. I'll bring it up with the boss. He might agree with us. Plus, people always love a good charity case. After about 20 minutes, everybody reconvened back in the conference room, taking their seats. Oh my god, everyone's attention as he had a whiteboard pulled out from behind him. Oh, this is going to work. You're going to give your vote plus one reason. Afterwards will be marked on the board behind me. Once that's all said and done, whatever group has the most votes will be the results of the child. He then wrote down in kanji for association, Endeavor's custody, death, and then he put one mark underneath the death category. I know that it comes to no shock, but I'm choosing death because of all the issues I had with his father. Endeavor saw the man sit down as he went over to the board and marked underneath his custody. I find it wrong to put the sins of a father onto a child. Plus, I think that I can properly train him to become a good hero, but also give him the life skills to be a part of society. Oya saw his old man sit down as he quickly rushed over and grabbed the marker, putting a tally mark underneath his family's custody. I am the oldest of 3 siblings. I can tell when they're young that they're easily influenced. You can either make them evil or you can make them the greatest saint. The boy's only 10. He has time to change his mind on things, and I plan to turn him into one of the greatest heroes of the world. Rust walked over and put a tally mark under death. I think the boy is too dangerous. Plus, if he's been given quirks that he doesn't even fully understand or how to control them, he is a hazard to everyone, including himself. S. Genus walked over to the board next, as he did the one thing that everybody was surprised about and put a tally mark underneath the association. Even though I do not like the association, they do have good methods to keep those with powerful quirks under lock and key, along with teaching discipline. A little too strict, but it might be something the boy needs. Representative of the association walked up to the board and of course put a tally mark under association. I feel like I've already made my point about this, but I don't need to say it again. Inko had his fist clenched as he walked over to the board and put a tally mark underneath Endeavor's custody. I feel like a lot of you have forgotten that my agency is filled with nothing but mutant types and those who have trouble controlling their quirk. But I treat those people like they're humans, not like something that needs to be locked up. The boy deserves his freedom just like everybody else. Mirko walked up there slowly as she was swinging her head back and forth, almost like she didn't care about this entire situation, as she left a tally mark underneath Endeavor's custody. I find it wrong to judge a boy I've never even met, so why don't we just let him live? Tie-Dye was walking up as he saw a cane up in front of him, seeing the elderly man nodding at him as he nodded to him back. As he proceeded up to the board, he wrote 2 tally marks under death. I'm supposed to be representing myself along with the senior in the room, but we both agree that it is too troublesome for the bloodline of All for One to continue. Headshot walked up to the board as he actually surprised the group that he was talking with earlier and put a mark under the association. I'm sorry, my friends, but the more and more I hear people talk, the more I can't live with myself knowing that I was a part of killing a boy. But at least this way I know he's properly contained. Deku walked up to the board as she seemed to be breathing heavily, fighting back tears, but she resolved herself and put a tally mark underneath the association. Tensions were high, knowing that there were only 2 people left to vote, which were Hawks and Minsky. And seeing that everything was tied up, the both of them would have to agree or the whole thing would be put into a stalemate. Minsky went up to the board first as she marked down under Endeavor's custody. With this, I give all rights to Endeavor. He and I have already spoken terms, but I will not allow you to know about those. I guess it's all up to the number 3 hero now to decide everything. Everybody just groaned because they know that this entire vote was going to be put to a stalemate because the poster boy of the association would do nothing more but put a tally mark under the association. As everybody was getting ready to argue some more, Hawks got up and shocked everybody in the room as he put a tally mark underneath Endeavor's custody. I feel like a bad birdie to my handlers today, so let's let the boy spread his wings and fly along with us, along with finally getting out of this very boring meeting. But that's where I'm gonna leave it all this time, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. Make sure to leave a like and comment down below, and I'm out. Peace!